Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Nigro with a Chemistry Notes screencast. This screencast is the fifth in my series that deals with Unit 5 material on chemical kinetics and bonding. This one is going to be a little bit different than the other ones because this one is going to focus on naming of covalent molecules. All right, we've already learned how to name ionic compounds. And now that we've moved into covalent bonding, we're going to learn how to name the covalent molecules. Later in the year, when we get to our acid base unit, we'll talk about how to name those acids. All right, so this video is going to be pretty short because, to be honest, naming covalent compounds is a lot less complex than naming our ionic compounds. But I do want to warn you that once you learn the covalent rules, you cannot let them bleed over into your ionic naming. It's very tempting to use what we're going to talk about here in your ionic naming, but that is a big no-no. All right. There's a reason that the two types of namings are very different because they're just very different types of bonds. So they need different methods for naming. All right. So the first thing we have to do when we talk about naming is identify a particular compound as a covalent compound. And we know that that forms between two or more non-metal atoms. So what we're going to be looking for is, do we have a bunch of nonmetals? And if we do, then it's a covalent molecule, and its naming or formula writing is going to be based on that set of rules. All right. Now, unlike our ionic compounds, we are not going to be using the crisscross rule. We are not going to be using charges because these compounds form through sharing of electrons, not transferring. So we don't make ions. All right. So that means I can't just look at them, cross the charges, and get my subscripts. All right. Instead, I have to indicate the amount of each atom in a different way. And that different way is using something called a prefix. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to blow it up a little bit so it's easier to see, is list the prefixes for the number of atoms 1 through 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now these prefixes do continue to go up, all right, but we only need to worry about 1 through 10. All right, so the prefix that indicates one atom is mono. The prefix for 2 is di. For 3 is tri. Now, those three should seem pretty straightforward. 4 is the one where it tends to go a little off the rails. It's tetra. All right. Now, when we get to shapes in a little while, tetra is going to come back, and then maybe it'll help you remember. For 5, we get back to something that seems reasonable. Penta. For 6, it's hexa. The second one that tends to give us trouble is 7. Everyone wants 7 to be septa. All right. But it is, in fact, hepta. Close, but not quite. All right. And then octa for 8, nona for 9, and then deca for 10. All right. So those are the 10 prefixes that you're going to have to know. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is just talk through how to write the name when given a formula. All right. So let's say, for example, we're given the formula CO2. Now, I know that everybody knows what that is. All right. But let's walk through how to do it using these rules. The first thing you need to do is write the prefix for the number of atoms of the first element, then the first element name. All right. It goes on to say, if no mono, sorry, do not use mono for the first element. All right. So here we look, we have CO2. So we have one carbon. All right. But it says we don't use mono. So we're just going to write the word, whoops, except we're going to use a carbon. All right. So it's not monocarbon. It's just carbon. So we never use the prefix mono for the first element. If you have one of that element, you just write the name of the element. That's it. All right, now for the second element, again, we use our prefix to indicate the number of them. And then we're going to take the root of that second element's name and add the IDE ending. So that part is a little similar to our ionic compounds. It's going to be oxide or fluoride or chloride or nitride. All right, in this case, it's oxygen, but we have two of them. So our prefix for 2 is di, and then it's oxide. All right, so shockingly, CO2 is called carbon dioxide. It's not monocarbon dioxide, just carbon dioxide. All right, so let's say we had a different one, C3H8. All right, so again, we've got carbon, but there are 3 of them. So this is going to be tricarbon. All right, and then we have hydrogen, and we have 8 of them. So it's going to be octa, and then we take the root, hydra, ide. All right, so tricarbon octahydride. All right, we'll do one more, S2O4. All right, so sulfur, and we've got two, so disulfur. And then we've got four oxygens. So four is tetra. All right, now this is where there's a little bit of discussion in the scientific community about what to do when we have this the tetra, the A from the prefix, and the O from the oxygen. All right, so I tend to write tetroxide. So I drop that A. So those two vowels are right next to each other. But if you wrote tetraoxide, that would be perfectly fine. All right. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. All right. The downside is now that you have these prefixes, you guys like to go into your ionic compounds and start dropping them everywhere. All right. So, for example, CaCl2, instead of being calcium chloride, all of a sudden becomes calcium dichloride. No, you only get to use the prefixes if you have identified that molecule as covalent. So, you must do that first. Please do not mix these prefixes into your ionic naming, it will mess you up. All right, so now we're going to go the other way. All right, we're going to take the formula, or we're going to write the formula when given the name. All right, so if you have the name, the first thing you're going to do is write the symbol for the first element and then write a subscript that matches the prefix. All right, if there is no prefix, then the subscript is 1. All right, so in other words, you're never going to see mono. So if there's no prefix at all, then that means there's one of those guys. All right, then for the second element, you do the same thing. You write the symbol for the second element and then write that subscript that matches that prefix. All right, so let's say we have carbon monoxide. All right, so carbon, no prefix, so that's one of them. All right, and the monoxide tells me there is one oxygen. So carbon monoxide's formula is CO. Okay, no crisscrossing. All right, don't do that. Don't take the prefix of one and make it the subscript of the other. No, don't do that. It's so much simpler for covalent molecules. Do not make it harder. All right, up next, let's try pentaphosphorus heptasulfide. Wow, that's quite the molecule. All right, penta in front of phosphorus means I have 5 phosphorus atoms. Hepta in front of sulfide means I have a sulfur and I have 7 of them. So P5S7. All right, and then finally, let's see what we have here. Nitrogen trioxide. All right, so nitrogen, no prefix, so there's only one. And then trioxide, 3 oxygens. All right, now you might look at that and say, well, that looks like nitrate, but nitrate has a charge, right? So if it's given to you as NO3 minus, then you can call that nitrate. If it's given to you as NO3 with no charge, that is nitrogen trioxide. All right, so be careful. We always like to slip those in. All right, now there are a couple covalent molecules that have a common name that you should know. All right, one you know pretty well. All right, so common names. All right, these are ones where we tend to use the common name over the covalent name because it's just the one we've used forever. All right, the first one is H2O. All right, we do not call this dihydrogen monoxide. All right, instead, this has a common name, which we use all the time, which is water. All right, the other one, which we're going to see the most, is NH3. All right, so this is not nitrogen trihydride. All right, this is instead most often called ammonia. All right, so you should know those two common names, all right, because you're going to see those quite a bit. All right, and that's really it. If you need help with your ionic naming, you need to go back to the screencast from that unit, all right? But please, 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 please keep these naming conventions separate so that you do not mix and match, because that's where things tend to go wrong. Okay?